This video is almost exclusively text-to-speech, just one brief clip from Thunderfoot, so if you'd rather just read it, you can do so on my blog, link in the description. Oh, and if you do just go to my blog and read it, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up.
And it's not just dumb feminists who hold this line. The Rape Crisis Centre of England and Wales states, if you have been raped, the most important thing to remember is that it was not your fault. And while this might be mostly true, it is also not helpful in reducing the number of rapes. Because the statement implies that women have no agency of their own, no ability to affect the outcome by taking sensible precautions. That is, the statement reduces women to the level of passive objects who have no control whatsoever over their environment. This is just not true. Women do have minds. They are capable of risk and hazard assessment and minimizing such factors. This statement encourages women to think they have no influence whatsoever on what happens to them, and that there is nothing that they can do to minimize the risks of being sexually assaulted. And that's just a really bad message to send, in that it subjects women to enhanced risk of sexual assault by inhibiting them from trying to minimize their risks of becoming a victim.
Thunderfoot's statement is so powerful and true, and really in the best interest of women. Any level-headed woman should really listen to that statement and be thankful that Thunderfoot is looking out for them, looking out for women. Thunderfoot has to, because feminism sure as fuck is not feminism, and it's do as you damn well please. Throw yourself in front of the bus, since you have the legal right of way. Attitude is, and has, and will continue, to get many women hurt and victimized. Yet interestingly, feminists are calling Thunderfoot a rape apologist for trying to help women be safe. And what is feminism doing? Telling women to go put themselves in danger, for no other reason than it's their right. Around the age of 20, I was dating this girl who confessed to me she had been a victim of sexual abuse. She brought it up to explain why she has a hard time trusting people, but here's the interesting part. She told me she had been raped by 5 different people throughout her life. I made the mistake of asking how the hell was that possible? What could she possibly have done to get herself in this situation? She flipped out on me and told me that's the first thing they teach you in whatever sort of victim recovery program she was in, is that it's never ever the victim's fault. I said okay, I get that it wasn't your fault, but still, 5 times? Like, tell me about it. At any rate, she told me the first time it was by her father when she was really little, the second time it was by her stepdad when she was around 7, then by another stepdad when she was 12, then she was date raped at 15, and then again at age 20 at a party by a male friend when she had too much to drink. I told her that she needs to start being really careful about the sort of guys she hangs around, because it's possible that her sexually abusive upbringing may be causing her to compulsively seek out males who have a predilection to rape. Well, that advice only upset her worse. Of course I wasn't victim blaming, I wasn't attempting to scold or shame her, I was merely concerned for her well-being. It pissed her off and she was not happy or grateful for my advice. Thankfully I wasn't as foolish as to even suggest that there is just something seriously screwed up with her mom. Because today I know that would result in me being told don't tell me not to compulsively seek out child molesters as lovers and bring them home to my kids. Tell my lovers to stop molesting. That, you see, is the danger that can come from denial of responsibility that we see when someone starts in with these idiotic accusations of victim blaming. People who refuse to take responsibility. I shudder to think of some messed up woman bringing rapists, molesters, into their home and around their children, because they are in the irresponsible mindset of teach men not to rape. Moving on to a slightly different topic, I mentioned that feminists act as if they want women getting raped, and we've all agreed that feminists, the ones with power at least, don't actually care about rape, they just want to use it to have leverage, to accuse, to threaten, and imprison men. In fact, less women being raped would only hurt the victim narrative they construct to empower themselves and push their agenda. The more women that get raped, the louder they can beat their war drums. So let's be honest, it benefits the feminist organizations to have more women per year raped, just like it benefits the domestic violence industry to have more women battered by their husbands per year. If these organizations ever did anything to actually lower the problems they bitch about, it would kill their incredibly huge revenue, and take ammunition away from their feminist agenda. But the problem goes even deeper than that. Normal women tend to have rape fantasies. Pretty much every woman I have been intimate with wants to feel dominated, controlled, forced on. They have confessed rape fantasies. Women really do have a strong preoccupation with rape. Men fantasize about placing their penis into a woman that welcomes it, craves it, begs for it. Many women fantasize about getting raped. I don't pretend to fully understand the way a woman's brain is wired, but many of them do seem to like, on some level, being raped. Please do not interpret that last statement to mean women enjoy getting raped or raping women is okay. I based this theory on every damn woman I have ever talked to in real life or online about sexual desires. They like to feel dominated and have confessed to fantasizing about being raped. And it's not just my personal observation. Many other men I have talked to have mentioned this as well. And women who are obviously the #1 buyers of romance novels and literary erotica, really get off on all these stories where the aggressive persistent male breaks her defenses, takes her forcefully etc. You'd have to be in a state of denial to tell me that there isn't a ton of evidence that women have rape fantasies and find it exciting. I've even in rare cases heard women confessing, in some way, that the danger, referring to the possibility of getting raped, was enough to turn them on. I suspect there are a lot of women that love to flirt with that danger, rape. Maybe that's why they freak the fuck out when someone tells them that while rape is never ever their fault, and the rapist is always to blame for it, it would still be wise to take precautions to minimize their chances of getting raped. Maybe somewhere deep in their fucked up little minds they are hearing it translated to stop giving yourselves an emotional rush by risking rape. But unless they're talking about what gets them off, normal women don't really talk about rape. Feminists talk almost exclusively about rape. Do you know how often I think about rape in any way, shape or form? Never. I never think about rape. I don't think about committing it. I don't think about it getting done to me. I just don't think about rape. I don't think many guys do. The only time I even mention the word rape or give it any thought is when replying to a feminist that is always talking about rape this and rape that and rape culture. When feminists are not talking about rape directly, they're talking about it indirectly, but it's always there. Rape culture, rape apologist, rape supporter, rape enabler, rape. If most normal women have deep dark rape fantasies, and they do, and on some level, conscious or subconscious they enjoy in some perverted way putting themselves in danger of rape, then it stands to reason when women are sexually frustrated they start thinking about rape. Could sexual frustration be at the heart of feminist rape hysteria that they have deemed rape culture? Does talking about rape and swapping rape stories like boys swapping baseball cards get them off? Is getting on camera or on a forum and talking about rape culture the equivalent of masturbation? I always assumed feminists had some sort of rape phobia, but I am beginning to suspect they might have rape philia. Look, all I can tell you is, women have a disturbing preoccupation with rape. Feminists have a sick fucking obsession with rape. This is why when Thunderfoot merely offers advice on how to lower your chances of becoming victimized, and claims this is not victim blaming, the feminists go absolutely ape. What feminists are hearing him say is, ladies, I know you enjoy flirting with danger, and I know feminists in particular have a victimhood obsession and you don't feel complete without a victim badge to show off to your sisterhood, but please avoid playing chicken with the train. I want you to think of all the signs at Slutwalk and how they say things like, don't teach women how not to get raped, teach men how not to rape. What this actually means is don't tell women not to provoke danger for the thrill of it. Just give women their victim card when it happens and scold the entire male sex. It is the equivalent of me saying something like don't tell me not to endanger myself in front of the train. Tell the train not to endanger me. It's not a genuine statement. It's a childish outlash against being told what to do. It's also an example of women being absolutely phobic of holding on to responsibility. And the reason I say women rather than feminist, is because as I have stated many times in the past, there is evil in all of us. A man's evil shows itself in masculine behaviors. A woman's evil shows itself in feminine behaviors. Feminism is the absolute advocacy and glorification of the evil in women. That is to say, nearly every negative trait inherent in the feminine, is encouraged and idolized by feminism. Telling women how to minimize their risk, is in a way, scolding them for taking that risk. It is similar to a phenomenon I have witnessed many times. A woman dresses in an outfit that is uncomfortable and impractical, but maximizes her sex appeal. She then becomes upset when men look at her. Obviously she wanted male attention or she wouldn't have gone out of her way to dress like that. It's a game with women. Half the thrill is getting the attention, the other half is scolding men for giving the attention. This tease and denial behavior is actually a form of abuse. Women love to control males by controlling their sexuality, and they love to hurt men by shaming them for getting aroused. Women know they have sexual power over males, and when women exercise that sexual power, it is no different from men exercising their physical power over a woman. It is abuse. I'm not claiming that a woman provoking a man's attention and then saying, "How dare you look at my breasts," is the same crime as a man shoving a woman to the ground. I'm just saying it is an abuse of power. Sex is power, and women have a virtual monopoly on this power. Women do not like being told to be responsible with their power. Men are considered tough when they can display their physical dominance over other males, but men have never been praised for displaying his physical dominance over females. Women are physically weaker, therefore any physical assault on them is considered bullying, an abuse of power. Women need to be held responsible in the same way. A woman has sexual superiority. Using that sexual superiority over a man needs to equally be considered bullying. If men are to respect a woman's physical weakness, then women are to respect a man's sexual weakness. Women do not want to take responsibility with their sexual power, and women do not want to take responsibility for their thrill-seeking and risk-taking behavior. This is why feminists, who advocate for the darkest, most wicked, feminine behavior, perceive womankind under attack when they are told to take some responsibility. This is also one of the biggest reasons feminists hate the men's rights movement, because we advocate that women be held accountable for their actions, and forced to take responsibility for their privileges. It has been my observation that feminists are the most abusive with their sexual power. Take for example the so-called sex-positive feminists, who are sex-positive for females, but scold male sexuality. They, more than women who don't identify as feminist, love to absolutely throw themselves in harm's way. While most women drink with some degree of moderation around lots of men, feminists seem to want to get absolutely shit-faced to the point of passing out in the company of a dozen men she's never seen. They seem to throw themselves in harm's way like a moth to a flame, and if they don't get raped, and you mention that their behavior was reckless and dangerous because they could have been raped, they will scream bloody murder, telling you not to teach them to not get raped. Teach men not to rape. You can absolutely see the aversion to responsibility. If you suggest carrying a gun, feminists will go nuts with this "don't tell me to protect myself, just tell men not to rape." Really though, if feminists pass around all these doctored statistics that say practically every woman will be raped, and they really believe this, don't you think they'd take precautions? Even a low-caliber gun is one hell of an equalizer, but feminists think marching down the street half-naked, like it's Mardi Gras, and carrying signs with stupid slogans, will lower their chances of getting raped the next day. But carrying a gun isn't smart because that's victim blaming. It's like feminists don't actually want women to get raped less, they just want an excuse to push their political agenda. Teaching women how to lower their chances of getting raped is misogyny. Telling them to throw themselves in harm's way because it's their right, is feminism. Another thing that dawns on me, and it's only a suspicion, and one I really hope I am wrong about, it dawns on me. Are some of these feminists actually trying to get raped for the masochistic thrill of it? A person might claim that rape is painful physically and emotionally. However, with the undeniable evidence that many, if not most, women have some kind of rape fantasy, and if an individual was a masochist, wouldn't the physical and emotional pain of rape be considered desirable to them? And when you toss into the equation how much feminists fetishize victimhood, and wave around their victim card like it's an Olympic medal, could some of these sick feminists actually be trying to get raped not only for the masochistic thrill, but to earn that almighty sisterhood of the raped induction, that victim card? I know, it sounds crazy. It sounds as batshit crazy as a feminist, but when I think about women who willingly let themselves get viciously beat to a pulp as a gang initiation, when I think about how much pain of childbirth they are willing to go through multiple times in their life just to have a baby, and I think about all the abusive relationships many of them compulsively seek out, and I think about all the self-harm they do when cutting themselves for the attention, it begins to seem like a real possibility. Like some of these feminists really are seeking out a rape experience. And when I think about the way they put words into other people's mouths when they say things like, "I was not asking for it," when no one at all even suggested she was asking for it, it's almost like they have a guilty conscience. And the way feminists more than anyone, in my personal observation, love to throw themselves into rapey situations like they're playing chicken with a train, it really makes me wonder. Anyhow, I hope I am wrong about this, and certainly this wouldn't apply to all women, or even most women, and of course not to all feminists either. But some feminists, yeah, I actually think this is a real possibility. A healthy woman would not do this. But, all jokes aside, feminism, unlike any other ideology, tends to contain some very obvious mental illness. The more dedicated and louder a feminist's activism is, the more you can see very real mental illness in them. Anyhow, I hope I'm wrong about that last part, and it isn't something that would even ordinarily occur to me. Except the strange way feminists will put words into people's mouths and accuse them of claiming she was asking for it, and he was victim blaming, and all this other shit the speaker never said. It's a bit like if your kid came home and acted a little weird, and you said, "Is everything alright? You seem to be acting a bit funny." And then the kid angrily blurts out, "I haven't been smoking pot, I'm sober, I don't even know where to get pot, not that I've been looking or anything." Wouldn't you instantly get suspicious that maybe your kid was smoking pot? Anyhow, victimhood is very powerful both politically, socially, and psychologically. No matter how rotten of a human being you are, if you have a big enough victim story, in a way, you can purify yourself. Victimhood purifies, and justifies the individual and their poor decisions. Victimhood in our current culture is seen as beautiful and special. It is completely glamorized. Just look at the trend, and I do mean trend, of self-harm. They all claim to do it because they have so much inner pain that they need to express it through physical pain to mirror their inward pain. Or the excuse is they cut so they can feel. And when you take a look into this trend and you look at their support group communities, you find it's less of a support group and more of a social hangout, with them posting pictures of their cuts like they were showing off their new tattoo. And they talk about how they're very special people who need to be treated tenderly, and how if you don't cry them a big enough river they will totally cut themselves, and how it's all your fault for not giving them the pity party their illness demands. I swear, we are living in a sick victim culture, and let me tell you, the one thing a self-made victim doesn't want to hear is that their victimhood is self-created, because that reveals them as a fraud, and that takes away the victim card they worked so hard to get. And that's why any questioning of their role in becoming a victim is shot down with cries of victim blaming. And I know some people might say that if you tell a woman not to dress like a slut and get drunk and pass out near a bunch of guys because that's putting themselves in danger, well then you're actually being a misandrist because you are implying that males are dangerous. I have heard many feminists make this argument, and it's false, because the advice is non-gender specific. No matter what your sex, you should avoid getting really drunk all alone with strangers of any sex. If anyone around you sexually desires you, male, female, gay, straight, bi, whatever, if they desire you sexually, getting drunk and passing out in front of them without witnesses is a danger. If they don't desire you sexually, but they desire your money, you might not want to get drunk near them, pass out in front of them, or flash your Rolex around them. The message to avoid enticing and or making yourself vulnerable in front of males, is more accurately the danger of enticing and or making yourself vulnerable in front of anyone, regardless of sex. Women need not safeguard against men. People need to safeguard against people. Also, people who are victimized tend to have two basic reactions. 1. They victimize others as a way of compensating. The rationality is simple. I was hit 10 times a day by my parents, so if I hit my kid 10 times a day, I am no longer a victim by comparison. Or my father hit me today, that makes me feel weak and not in control of my life. But if I hit this nerd, then I will be regaining control over my life, and that nerd as a target is the next best thing to my father as the target. 2. They seek out situations that are abusive. This normally happens in relationships. I theorize they assume on some level the abuse they suffered was deserved, and therefore they deserve to continue being abused. Interestingly, they often begin acting badly to justify the abuse they are receiving. This becomes self-fulfilling. They act bad to justify getting hit, and they justify getting hit by recognizing they behaved badly. The end goal for these people is to level the bad behavior with the amount of abuse they receive. That way everything comes out justified and even. We live in a culture that makes examining the role of the victim a crime. I say we need to take the glorification of being a victim and make that the crime. I have an article linked in the description which I highly recommend. It is called The Psychology of Victimhood, written by psychologist Officer of the Zur Institute. The Zur Institute's mission is to provide quality continuing education, training and free information for psychotherapists and other healthcare professionals. So this is some really serious research, not just some random blogger, journalist hack, or some kooky sensationalist with a PhD. Here is an excerpt from that article. The victim stance is a powerful one. The victim is always morally right, neither responsible nor accountable, and forever entitled to sympathy. Good Lord, if that doesn't describe the professional victims called feminists, then what does? The article is all about victimhood, the pathology, the political, the blame game, and even mentions feminism a few times. Here is another excerpt. The second approach also concentrates on blame. However, it lays all blame entirely on men. This approach has been promoted by a brand of feminism, which holds the male-dominated patriarchal system responsible for all the evils in the world, whether the issue is wars and politics, domestic violence and sexual abuse, toxic dumps and the corporations, or nuclear weapons and the military-industrial complex. The finger is pointed at men as the culprits. At the heart of this approach is the split between men's aggressive and violent nature and women's inherent goodness. Anyhow, it's a good read, and it's always interesting to see feminism get mentioned a few times when talking about mental pathology. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Feminism is absolutely wrought with neurosis. It's like conspiracy theorism with its paranoia and schizophrenia. Not every conspiracy theorist has a legitimate illness, but you can't possibly look into these communities without seeing a lot of actual mental illness. Not all feminists are mentally ill, but mental illness is pretty damn prolific in feminism. And for those of you who don't know what neurosis is, or are mistaking it for neuroticism, which even I keep doing, a brief description from Wikipedia is anxiety, sadness or depression, anger, irritability, mental confusion, low sense of self-worth, etc. Behavioral symptoms such as phobic avoidance, vigilance, impulsive and compulsive acts, lethargy, etc. Cognitive problems such as unpleasant or disturbing thoughts, repetition of thoughts and obsession, habitual fantasizing, negativity and cynicism, etc. Interpersonally, neurosis involves dependency, aggressiveness, perfectionism, schizoid isolation, socio-culturally inappropriate behaviors, etc. Come on now, how much of that fits a ridiculously high amount of feminists? Well, to be fair, neurosis is found higher in women, and most feminists are women, and it gets me to thinking about what came first, the chicken or the egg. If we can accept that feminism, while being many things, is also the glorification of all negative attributes of the feminine, and neurosis is often found more in women than in men, could feminism be amplifying this trait? Or do women high in neurosis use political feminism as an outlet for their neuroses? Could it be both, like maybe unusually neurotic women use feminism to express their neurosis, and then work themselves up into such a rape culture patriarchal conspiracy to oppress women type frenzy, thus amplifying their neurosis? It is unfortunate that as a men's rights activist, ideologically opposed to feminism by the nature of that movement, I cannot be unbiased in my evaluation of feminists. My negative view of feminism may be subconsciously causing me to unfairly classify and demonize my opponents. It's a natural human tendency. I do my best to separate myself from my ideology. I have to remind myself sometimes I am a thing which has a collection of ideas. I am not a collection of ideas manifested into a thing. I do my best to give my opponents the same benefit of the doubt, but I can't guarantee my assessment of them isn't laced with bias. I do see feminists, more times than not, dripping with mental illness, whether it's neurotic or sometimes psychotic. I believe anyone who says Thunderfoot's videos was rape apology or victim blaming, is either a dishonest person or a mentally ill person. I won't even give these people the benefit of the doubt and say they're stupid, because stupidity cannot justify misunderstanding him to that degree. Again, either they are dishonest, or suffer from some sort of mental problem. There is one more thing I want to talk about. The need to keep rape a special and sensitive topic that must be treated with the utmost sensitivity and respect for victims, and alleged victims, potential victims, etc. Insisting that we must be sensitive, or being accused of being insensitive, is a silencing tactic. It sets up a victim status, and then requires all of your arguments and all discussion to be treated with kid gloves. The potency of your arguments must be watered down to respect the victim, or in extreme cases, any disagreeing with the one holding the victim stance is referred to as being insensitive. There is evil in all of us. It manifests as feminine, and as masculine. We know what masculine evils look like, but the feminine evils, which we are never allowed to discuss, include such things as censorship, the need to make things safe, and to be sensitive. Sensitive, safe, censorship, are all related both psychologically and socially, and this is a feminine evil. This also helps explain why feminists use censorship as one of their primary weapons. They have victimhood, feigning fear, and censorship, but outside of the censorship tactic, there is another reason I hate being told that all rape discussion must be done with sensitivity. The more weight you give to rape, the more weight you remove from false accusations. The more we say rape is a powerful and sensitive subject, the more you minimize the severity of false rape allegations. Rape is more likely to happen to women, but false rape allegations are more likely to apply to men. A false rape allegation leads a man to prison, destroying his community reputation and family life, permanently destroying his career options when he gets out of prison. He will most likely be raped multiple times in prison, have to register as a sex offender, and will never have a drop of sympathy, and must remain silent about it his entire life. A rape victim gets raped, and then sympathy and understanding from everyone but a few internet trolls. There is the exception. If you are a man and raped, either you get told men don't get raped, or you're called a faggot. And if you were raped by a woman, God help you when it comes to the ridicule. Considering there is virtually no chance of getting falsely accused and sent to prison, and then not getting raped, it is safe to say that false rape accusations, which may occur less than actual rape, is more severe because it pretty much guarantees rape, and then much devastation. The more we are told it's rape that is such a sacred subject, the more we are likely to knee-jerk assume the so-called victim is really the victim, and not believe the accused, whereas in every other crime, the accused must be seen as innocent until proven guilty. By giving weight to one, you marginalize the other. The more marginalized false allegations become, the easier it is for a woman to false accuse, thus she may be inclined to do it more. We must hold false allegations and rape to the same standards and not marginalize either. While false allegations will most likely include rape and other things, it is worse, but less common, claiming that one over the other must be given sensitivity, skews public opinion, and creates an imbalance in justice, since rape primarily happens to women, and false allegations happens primarily to men. Declaring that it is rape that must be given the special treatment, is by default saying that women are to be given special treatment, and that is the major reason the feminists push rape as the most horrific and sacred thing to ever exist. Something I have begun doing is making pictures and posting them to my Tumblr like this. To promote an awareness of false allegations. What I like about that picture is that it doesn't minimize rape, it just puts false allegations on par with rape, the way it needs to be. It doesn't matter how serious we take rape, so long as we equally take false allegations serious. It doesn't matter how broad the definition of rape is, so long as it applies equally to men and women.